Good day, everyone. Welcome to our webinar entitled Stress Management, Resilience in Working During a Pandemic. This is the first in a series of special lectures on COVID-19 related stress, which is a serious issue that we all face right now. In this highly substantial, juicy webinar, RunVigor Stress Control Training Center has prepared to equip you, the participants, with a life skill that is so important, not just for survival in these trying times, but more specifically for excelling in your career, profession, and livelihood in general. In other words, to help you succeed in whatever you are doing right now. I'm not just talking about money or salary, though that is a part of it. That is totality. Your personal fulfillment. There are lots of life skills integral for success. There are grit, patience, gratitude. We will save those for our next trainings. For now, the most important thing is resilience. We will talk more about this later in this webinar. We will cover number 1, the nature of stress and stress management training. Number 2, resilience. Number 3, RunVigor's own stress control framework. Number 4, assertiveness training. And number 5, a case study, case focus on a patient suffering from agoraphobia and how she was able to somehow improve using stress management training. Apart from that, we have this bonus part from Miss Ewa Heard, the world-renowned business mentor and transformational coach, to talk about turning your passion into profit. I will have to share a disclaimer to you. This stress management training is not therapy in any way, not to cure any psychological or psychiatric disorders, but it is a training on how we form habits, the right way we view stressors, and the right way of improving our lifestyle, improving our mindset in order to control and manage the stress and our response to it. This is not therapy. This is a training and coaching session. So, without further ado, let us begin. Here's the title of our webinar, Stress Management, Resiliency in Working During a Pandemic. Let me start by introducing the company. We are RunVigor Stress Control Training Center. We do training and coaching to build capacity of individuals and organizations based on individual strengths, productivity, habit, mindset, and heart set. We were established in June 10, 2017 and were put mainstream in the beginning of 2020. We make use of modalities and training materials, skills that are specialized under the Stress Management Institute in the United Kingdom and the American Institute of Stress. Now, here are the documents of the training center, and our vision is by 2030, 1 million organizations and individuals combined will have been fully capacitated to manage their own stressors. So the mission is to give motivation, integrity, and meaning to career performance, to facilitate harmony of relationships and success in the workplace, and foster stable health and empowered relations with the families of professionals. So here's something about me. I'm a registered nurse by profession, also a certified professional life coach, candidate diplomate of the American Institute of Stress. I hold 2 diplomas, one for individual stress management and second for organizational stress management. I'm also a certified law of attraction practitioner and a human rights training specialist. So these are my diplomas. I have fields of practice on positive psychology, law of attraction, Gallup, Clifton Strengths, and strength management and stress management. So I am a founder of RunVigor Stress Control. I have self-help books. I am also a coach in the coaching for educators. We offer free coaching for teachers, instructors, and the like. I'm also a founding member of Positive Psychology Association for Positive Psychology Coaches, and I'm also highly spiritual in the church. And then we will hear later about Ewa Heard. She will talk about turning your passion into profit Ewa is a highly qualified business coach and mentor accredited by the Association for Coaching in the United Kingdom and International Coach Federation. She has a BSc psychology degree and she is a certified stress management trainer as well. So enough about us. We will hear more about Ewa later. And here goes our course overview. We have 5 parts. First, nature of stress, stress management training. Second, resilience. Third, RunVigor's resilience framework, assertiveness training for the 4th part. And for the 5th part, we have case focus, agoraphobia. Now let's begin with lesson 1. Nature of stress and stress management training. Now, stress per se, even before, since 1936, Hans Seil, even in Hooke's law in 1658, they have connoted stress with their own way of describing tension, like what the dictionary says, physical, mental, emotional strain or tension. But as what Hans Seil said, non-specific response of the body to any demand for change, meaning there is no specific way to measure stress. Therefore, how do we approach it? The goal is to better manage stress and not to eliminate them altogether. Today, more people suffer from stress than ever before. Pace of life is stressful in itself, especially nowadays. Now, here are some major sources of stress, major life changes like marriage, parenthood, unemployment, bereavement, overwork, and ill health. So, be it good or bad, just as long as there's change, there has to be adaptation and adjustment. So, there's a demand for us to keep up. Here are some sources of stress. No network of support like what previous generations relied upon, because the time before is definitely different from the time now. And anxiety response to different situations from early childhood to adult life. So it starts at childhood, and how we adapt to things, how we solve problems, we carry it on until adulthood. Now, how do we see stress, since it is not directly measured by the effects? Stress-related illnesses such as asthma, hypertension, and the like. Also, there's free-flowing anxiety, panic attacks, muscular tension, hyperventilation, obsessive compulsive thoughts and behaviors, and variety of phobias. How exactly do we have to view stress? Well, our bodies react to it. It's how we react to fear. The same way how our body reacts to stress is how we react to fear. Therefore, fear is an experience felt when we are concerned about our well-being and safety. And that's what we feel when we are under threat. So that's the body's response to stress as well. We trigger fight or flight syndrome. There are physical changes. There's an instinctive reaction to danger, and this can be set off even when there's no real danger or life's threat. Remember, folks, there is non-existent. The what we are afraid of may or may not be real, but the body responds just like we are actually faced with a dangerous scenario. So we start with stress. We have thoughts of perceived danger, and the result would be fear or panic. That is a behavior that either causes more stress or avoidance to it, the fight or flight. Now, there are 3 interrelated systems. First, thoughts. It starts with the thought. Second, physical changes which take place in our bodies. And third is the behavior which results from these. Now, how do we train stress management techniques rather? We learn to create relaxed and positive habits of thought, and we learn techniques of physical relaxation. That will result to relaxed and appropriate behavior. It also enables us to achieve desired goals in life. You have to start by being aware and being relaxed, so there's a presence of mind. How? We have logical sequence of training. We do provide muscular and mental relaxation. We can do that. There's also mechanism of deep breathing, breath control techniques, discovering and challenging negative thinking patterns. So it's actually confronting it. Is it real or is it not? Positive thinking, development of self-confidence, and elimination of unwanted behaviors, those that are harmful to us. Now, we do provide coaching sessions that include information giving. That's one-on-one, because it has to be private, because it's not some clients may not be comfortable in sharing it with other people, so it has to be private. On origins and expressions of symptoms of stress. We also have stress management relaxation exercise, how exactly we can control it. So there's a way, there's a technique, a mechanism on how we alter and change our behaviors toward it. The greater the understanding, the better way to manage. Stress management training can help you change, but like any other skill worth learning, it takes practice, hard work, and commitment. You have reached the end of this portion. Thank you for listening. In part 1, we have established that stress by itself cannot be exactly measured, but it affects our lives in so many levels. We have also made clear that it is not stress that should be dealt with, but our response to the stressors. Why? Because uncontrolled stress is based on fear, which triggers our fight or flight syndrome, which stimulates physical symptoms that are damaging when suffered all the time, or long term. Stress can be managed effectively with focused awareness and commitment to the techniques in the trainings. What are you stressed about during this time of pandemic? Is it the sudden change of lifestyle that you were not used to prior to COVID? Is it the work setting? Is it the loss of job? In a work setting, is it the adjustment to a work from home style, or is it the challenge of a brand new competition that you will have to ease in order to succeed in a work from home profession? What is it that makes you stressed? Is it food? Is it money? Is it your physical fitness? Or is it your relationship with your family members? Take a deep breath and reflect those that make you stressed. What makes you suffer sleepless nights and make you nervous are all based on fear. Those you're afraid of, are they real? Are they happening right now? If you think about it, only the COVID pandemic is real and only the major changes are real. But the threats that you think of, the future events that you are worried about, they are not here yet. Therefore, what makes you stressed are based on fear. How do you tackle those fears? Let us talk more about that specifically in the second part of this webinar, which is all about resilience. So part 2 is about resilience. It is adapting well in the face of hardships, or shall we say in our study now in this webinar, it's called the stressors. We have different types of resilience. We have this organizational resilience and we have personal resilience. That's what we will focus on right now. Our own assets. Okay, so individuals process trauma and adversity in different ways. We really need to learn how to be resilient, especially in the time today. What is resilience? It is, in a nutshell, it is the ability to get back up whenever you fall down. So basically, in this time of COVID pandemic, we all fell down. Everywhere you go, it's different now. So let's start from the general to specific, from the whole world to each country, to each organizations, companies, economy, down to the livelihood of individuals and families. So we all fell down one way or another. We are experiencing this change, this major change. Now, since we fell down and we all had to adjust, resilience is the capacity, it's a life skill, how you are going to get back up from falling down. Okay, so that's the basic definition or illustration rather of resilience, and that's what we all need to learn to have right now, the ability to adapt and dream. It's not really being strong and staying strong, although that is a good trait, but resilience is you accept defeat one point and then you just get right back up. It's there has to be acceptance of weaknesses before you can get right back up. And so you will, moving forward, you know the proper way of which one to know, the best way to approach the change that is confronting us, all of us right now. In view of that, let us move on to the third topic, which is about RunVigor's resilience framework. Now, this one is a step-by-step procedure on how to build resilience. Now, it has to be conditioned in our minds. Make it a habit of thinking about these thoughts, and that it's being mindful. It's you have to learn how to control your thoughts. So let's get to that. Here are the 7 tips of 7 steps under RunVigor's resilience framework. First is self-discovery vis-a-vis self-awareness. So what's the difference between the two? Self-discovery is when you still do not know that you have this quality, or you have this particular response or thought or fear, and then due to some triggers you've come, or triggers or realizations, you have come to discover this side of you, as compared to self-awareness. Self-awareness is acknowledging and accepting that it's who you are. So it has to go side by side. You have to know yourself and then be open to what you can achieve more, or what you can learn further and discover about yourself. There is more to you that you have to discover. So that's self-discovery. Self-awareness, where you are right now, is self-awareness, and self-discovery is being open to what you could have. Number 2 is grit, and it has to be consistent. Grit is different from resiliency in a way that grit is it's seeing a race. Life is a race that you have to keep on moving forward towards the finished goal. It's persistence. Grit is persistence, and you have to be consistent in having grit. Resiliency, on the other hand, is you do not know where to go, but you just go. You just move forward. So grit is you have this direction set in your mind. So RunVigor rather put grit as step 2, because once you are aware of yourself and once you have discovered that part of you, you move forward consistently with you're using that grit in order to be resilient. Third is pessimism. Now this might look pretty negative for some, but pessimism means, in this particular framework, it means awareness of the enemy, the weaknesses and the threats. So for those of you who are in the corporate industry or in the management field, you're pretty much aware of the SWOT, or the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats rather. So pessimism here is being aware of your own weaknesses and the threats that is confronting you. It's pretty much like hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Okay, so you have to prepare for the things that might happen. Okay, so awareness of the enemy, so that you know what to do when you are faced with that. It's not like preparing for the negative, but it's a form of strengthening yourself, so you will be capable of surpassing that. It's more of the surpassing. It's not the fear that you will have, or you will have that, or you will encounter that, but it's the anticipation that you will overcome that. Number 4 is mindfulness. Mindfulness is being observant of what's happening, like now in the COVID pandemic. Mindfulness is, of course, we worry at first, right? We worry, and then we think of we think of the threats that we may encounter, and for that we have to be mindful, observant of the opportunities that are in front of us, and setting aside our emotions as we think. Number 5 is cognition, or the presence of mind. What is the difference between mindfulness and cognition? Mindfulness is being observant. Cognition is actively thinking about it. The consciousness works. Like, mindfulness is like this. Oh, so I lost my job, or I'm not able to go to work right now. So these I have to provide for my family. I need to get something to I need to find a way to bring food to the table. That's mindfulness. It's not to be overcome by what's happening in front of you, but it's just describing what's happening without any emotions. That's mindfulness, and what you can do about it. Cognition is processing that, being mindful. Okay, I have to bring food to the table, but I cannot work. What should I do? Now, these are the opportunities that are in front of me. What am I going to do about this? I should not be beaten by worriness or by fear. So that's cognition, presence of mind. Number 6 is self-esteem. Once you become mindful, once you observe what's happening around you, and once you have thought about what you will do, you have to trust yourself. No, because you have to get back to your self-discovery, self-awareness. Oh, this is where I'm good at, or this is my strengths. These are my strengths. Now, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can work in that field. Maybe I can do that. So that's self-esteem. Next is optimism. Optimism is realistic planning. It's not blind hope. Blind hope meaning you just wish for something and not do anything about it. That's not what we mean by optimism. Optimism is planning and being motivated to work towards what you processed during your step 5, during your cognition. Okay, so let's recap. That self-discovery and self-awareness. You have to know where you're good at, where you're weak, what your weaknesses are. Second is grit, or consistency. Once you learn that, you move forward. Third is pessimism. Prepare for what you will encounter. Mindfulness is to observe what's happening, think about it in cognition, believe in yourself and self-esteem, and plan to move forward. That's optimism. That's RunVigor's resilience framework. You have reached the end of this portion. Thank you for listening. You have finished part 2 and part 3 of this lesson, particularly about resilience and RunVigor resiliency framework. This is the main part of this webinar because we all have fallen from a regular lifestyle and means of living and work practices. All of us were in a bit of a shock when this pandemic happened. And so resilience has to be learned and applied so that we can all bounce back up after this fall. And once we bounce back up, we need to be consistent in moving forward. Resilience is not like being really strong. Resilience is like going on a mountain trail without a map, meaning you have to expect some ups and downs when you trek the mountain trails. But the most important thing is that you know that you will get to the finish line, to finish the trip one way or another, without having to get worry about getting lost in the mountains. That's what resilience is all about and how important it is in moving forward. Let's move to the third part of our webinar, which is about aggressiveness training. For those of you who have a bit of a struggle in controlling your anger, we need to know the importance of assertiveness and its difference with being aggressive as well as non-aggressive, and how toxic being non-aggressive is. Let us begin. The fourth part of our webinar is about assertiveness training. Are you mad? Because that's what this is all about. A bad thing happens. Okay, consider this illustration. We lose control, or we either lose control or become angry or say nothing to swallow our feelings. So we have three possible responses. Either we lose control and become angry, or just say nothing and ignore it, but keep it inside. We feel bad now and even later when we choose to let it out and just be angry and be mad. Because of that, we cause other people to feel bad and react negatively or even defensively to us. Now, does this work for your own good all of the time? You answer that by yourself. Okay. Now we talk about assertiveness. Assertiveness is how an individual uses his or her own power. You are being in control instead of the situation taking control over you. Okay, you use it to give it away and violate others, or constructively. I am talking about your response. Either you use that power, that which one you want to assert, you give it away and violate others, you put it in front of other people's faces, or you use it constructively. Now, dear learners, obstacles differ for individuals, and consequences of assertive behavior varies as well. Now, we have learned the definition of assertiveness. It is making use of the power, of your power, and how you want it out. Now let's go to non-assertive behavior. Non-assertive behavior implies having difficulty standing up for oneself. This person denies self-responsibility and invites persecution by assuming the role of a victim. Non-assertive behavior just lets everything happen without taking control of his or her responses, and instead of taking responsibility, he or she blames it to others. Now let's look at it in this organized manner, comparing aggressive and assertive. If you look at the table, you will see the aggressive is standing up for rights, and assertive is expressing needs and preferences. Aggressive rights of others are violated because of standing up for that right, and assertive does not violate others' rights because he or she is just expressing what he or she needs, and what he or she wants. Aggressive, self-enhanced at the expense of others. Assertive, neither threatening nor punishing to others. No undue fear or anxiety. Aggressive uses manipulation that's indirect. Assertive makes use of direct and honest communication. Manipulation could be, I'm fine. That's a verbal, but when I say indirect, the actions show otherwise. While the assertive part says, I feel bad because of this, because of that. So there's clear communication. So you see now, dear learners, the difference between aggressive and assertive, and which one do you think works better rather, and is healthier for you and other people around you. Now, we do offer training, assertiveness training, and these are some of the steps that we do. First, we make the clients write down 10 situations that he or she finds difficult to deal with as part of self-awareness. Number two, rate these 10 situations, difficult situations, in order of importance. Which one is more difficult than the other? Number three is behavior inventory. There's a list of behaviors, and then the client just checks or which ones apply to him or her. And then number four, there's brainstorming. There are words that are to be mentioned or said or mentioned to the client, and then he or she will assess and determine whether that word means assertive, non-assertive, or aggressive. Number five is Bill of Rights, just so the person knows, because we mentioned rights earlier, standing up for one's rights, and because of that, the rights of others are transgressed too. So the basic Bill of Rights, just so we know the rules of relating in the society. Number six, feelings about assertiveness. Does assertiveness appear bad to you, appear negative, or is it constructive? So it's how you see it. Number seven, the skills of assertiveness. So these 7 steps are to be assessed and measured through coaching forms, which are to be distributed and given to the clients for them to become more aware of their status and how they can improve their assertiveness. You have reached the end of this portion. Thank you for listening. You have finished part 4 of this webinar, which is about aggressiveness training. We have learned the difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness. Which one is the right thing to do, the healthier thing to do for you and for the people around you, and which one is probably the one that feels good at first, but later on will give you regrets, that is not healthy one way or another, because it's about how you feel afterwards. It creeps up inside you and it makes you think that if you could turn back time, you would undo it. Now we have also learned which one to focus on when we feel upset or angry. But as what I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, this is a habit that we should commit to doing every day, because this is not a one-time big time magic thing that once we learn about aggressive training, you're automatically capable of controlling your aggressiveness just like that. To bring out assertiveness, there has to be habit building, habit forming activities, and this involves strict and committed training and coaching. But I hope I am able to help with giving you an overview that this has to be addressed for us to be healthier and happier. Now we will proceed to the last part of our webinar before we proceed with our bonus part with Ewa Heard. The last part of this webinar is about the case focus on agoraphobia. This is a real life scenario about a client getting stress management coaching and training. You will see what the part or how the client was at the beginning and how she was at the end of the training sessions. Let us begin. Okay, so we now go to part 5 of our webinar, which is about case focus. This is about a real life client, but with a changed name for privacy purposes. So Kath here, not her real name, suffers from agoraphobia. Dear learners, I will share to you the documentation of the client, how she was assessed in the beginning, and the progression, what were used as stress management techniques, what were taught and trained to her, and her responses were documented until the results came out, which we will discuss later. And should you be interested to have a one-on-one training and coaching consultation about stress management, this is exactly what it will look like in the documentation. Well, not exactly, because yours might be different, probably be different. Okay, so here's about Kath. Kath is a woman in her late 30s living with her husband in a high rise flat. She has a son, 10 years old, and works full time as a secretary. Kath reports a very active social life with a number of close friends and membership of various clubs and organizations. So the situation of Kath might or might not apply to you. So please pay attention, and so you will definitely learn something that might help. Okay, the nature of the problem noted was was agoraphobic and just anxious most of the time, hyperventilated on a train, initially diagnosed as schizophrenic and later on as agoraphobic. And she was prescribed anafranil, Ativan, and Valium in the past. So again, let me tell you a disclaimer of RunVigor Stress Control Training Center. We do not provide therapy, because therapy cures or therapy cures personality disorders and the like, those relating to clinical conditions. But as what I mentioned in the beginning of this training webinar, that what we offer are habit forming, lifestyle changing, step-by-step procedure, guidance, and coaching to help you overcome and change how you view stress and how it might help your condition if you have any. But we do not guarantee cure to any clinical condition. Okay, so just so we are clear. Now, the effects of the problem that she was suffering back then was first hyperventilation, general anxiety, low self-esteem, and alcohol abuse. Now, the past attempts she did to work on the problem was that she took the prescribed drugs, withdrew from Valium 5 years ago, substituted with alcohol until now, and never offered alternative treatment. The duration of the problem was going on for 16 years. Now, the contract made with her was to meet weekly for 8 weeks stress management training and coaching to lessen general anxiety and to decide after what to do specifically about the agoraphobia. Now, Holmes and Ross scale were given to her. Kath scored 176 on the scale, although fairly high, seems not to be related to her condition. Subjective level of stress, how she perceives her own stress, was 8 out of 10, 10 being the highest. 3 things contributing most to stress upon assessment. First, traveling to work on the bus, that makes her stressed. Number 2, going shopping. And number 3, worrying about money. Now, a subjective measure of change. According to her, to get on a bus without worrying about where I'm going to sit or I'll have to get off and walk. That's what makes her worry. And to get on a bus without worrying about where I'm going to sit, that's the change that she's looking after. Now, coping with stress scores and strengths and weaknesses, she scored 35 on the test at the low end of moderate stress. Coping to stress. Response to therapeutic information giving. Kath was familiar with fight or flight syndrome, the one that I mentioned earlier, and she's able to redefine fears as only physical. This comes after the therapeutic information giving was conducted to her. And her response to muscular relaxation training was, with practice, Kath learned passive progressive relaxation, which she was able to use as a coping skill. Personality type, Kath emerged as an AB type, 30 breaths per minute. So Kath is a shallow breather who sometimes hyperventilates when under stress. Depression questionnaire score, mildly depressed. Response of Kath to deep breathing and breath control, Kath found deep breathing useful for relaxation. She learned square breathing technique and used it as a coping skill, and she reported it as the most useful technique, felt it was responsible for eventual overcoming of her phobia. Now, her response to triggers was Kath found them very useful in learning deep breathing. Now, her response to cognitive theory, Kath was able to use a stress mood log. Using the negative positive mood log, she was able to challenge the notion that it was quote unquote terrible to make a fool of yourself. Lifestyle changes, fairly fit, she decided to take up running and began to cut down on her alcohol intake. Subjective level of stress, that's in the last session of the training program, dropped from 8 out of 10 in session 2, remember earlier, and the last session, 5 out of 10. So the 3 things contributing most to stress by session 8. Changes in session 2. These are the changes she reported. First, worrying about money. She's not worried about that anymore. Oh no, that's what she's still worried about right now. Pardon me. Worrying about money, concern over trying to get a better job, and worry that her son was getting into bad company. So those are the 3 statements of her stressors on session 8. And please take note, dear learners, that if you notice, none of these are connected with the phobia. Because before, her reported stressors was traveling, getting on a train, and worrying where to sit. But now, because she has agoraphobia, but upon session 8, she reported a different kind of stressor. She did not report any fears of riding on train anymore. A subjective measure of change, this was achieved by session 6. So the client's evaluation of the training coaching, Kath felt that breathing techniques and cognitive therapy had been extremely helpful. She was least interested in lifestyle changes, however. Now, she decided to take a further sessions. She attended for 3 more sessions to focus on agoraphobia, where she undertook hierarchy of feared situations, and she was happy to tackle the desensitization alone with the trainer. 3 weeks later, she worked on the hierarchy and no longer experienced anxiety. So, summary, Kath became much less anxious. She no longer avoided or experienced distress in any situation. Her self-esteem improved. At follow-up, she had maintained her gains. Now, as what I mentioned, we do not provide therapy, but somehow this training program or a coaching program might help improve the current condition of any person because of changing or shifting mindset, approach, and habits that a person does. That ends part 5. Now let us proceed with our bonus part with Miss Ewa Heard to talk about turning your passion into profit.
Hi everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you all well. Thank you, Alao, for inviting me here, and I'm so happy and excited to talk to you about stress, what I think stress is, and what I think about stress, and also I'll be sharing with you some tips for what you can do to really turn your passion and true purpose into a profitable business. So before we get started, I wanted to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Eva, and I'm a qualified business coach and mentor for entrepreneurs. So what I do is I help people connect to their true purpose in life, and we then work together to turn that purpose into profitable business, so people can really escape the 9-to-5 job and create businesses where they can create huge impact, where they really help people, where they can create a financial freedom, and most importantly, have a business that really aligns with their ideal lifestyle, so they can live the life that they've only just dreamt about. Okay, so this is what I do, but before I became a coach and mentor, I was in my 9-to-5 job. So I was managing a HR department in a global organization, and all of a sudden I started experiencing, in my 9-to-5 job, I started experiencing severe stress. So in 1 year, I ended up being signed off for work-related stress 4 times. So in fact, I was actually being at home more time than at work. And it was the worst time for me, because later on I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and of course severe stress. I couldn't function properly. I was very, very emotional. I couldn't go to work. I was just crying all the time because I felt stuck. I felt so helpless and hopeless because I actually didn't know what was causing all these mental health issues. And at that time, I really felt that it was the worst thing that could have happened to me. I didn't know how to recover. I didn't know how to move forward. So I just, I was just stuck at home crying all the time. It was really, really one of the worst time in my life. Like, seriously, it was really, really horrible. But now, from perspective, I know that this has been a blessing, and I had to go through that experience to get me to where I am. So it was the best thing that could have happened to me, right? So I later on realized that my 9-to-5 job was actually causing my stress, anxiety and depression. And it was not because my job was very stressful. No, it wasn't actually. It was quite a relaxed role. But what was causing my mental health problems was the fact that my 9-to-5 job was really against my true self, was really against my values, was against my personality, and was definitely against the idea of an ideal lifestyle. So one day I came to work and I realized this is not the life I want to lead. This is not who I am. I want more from life, and I've always had this inner knowing and this instinct that I want to create great impact. I want to help people. I want to serve people. I've always had that need, and that need was not being met in my 9-to-5 job, okay? And as a result, I've spent 7 years in my 9-to-5 job, right? So over the so many years, it kept building up and up and up, the stress, and then eventually it turned into depression and anxiety and the whole, breakdown. So once I realized that my 9-to-5 job was actually causing all these issues, I knew that I had to change it. My job, for me, what I wanted to do personally was I really wanted to connect to my purpose. I knew I had purpose. I knew I wanted something more for me. I knew I was meant for more, but I just didn't quite know. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. Right? So all I want to say to you that although if you're going through difficult times because of pandemic or for any other reasons, you're experiencing severe stress, or you're experiencing other health problems, whether that's physical or mental, I want you to know, and I really truly believe in that these are signs, if you're not meant to be feeling bad or experiencing negative emotions on a regular basis. And that's something that I didn't actually know. When I was in my 9-to-5 job, I was surrounded by people who were not very happy. They were miserable, they didn't like their job, people were snappy, people were angry. And I just thought that's normal, and for me to be feeling negative, I thought, well, everybody else is negative, that's normal, that's normal, everybody feels like this. But now I know that if you really do something that is true to yourself, so if you do something that you absolutely love, something that gives you financial security and something that really gives you the lifestyle that you want, you will not have those negative feelings every single day. Of course, we're humans and we all have bad days here and there, but trust me, you will have positive days way more than negative days, right? You cannot even compare those two things, right? So whenever you're feeling negative, whenever you're struggling with any negative emotions, whether that's stress or anxiety, depression, whatever it is, I want you to know that this is a sign, because it's almost like our negative emotion is trying to guide you and tell you, okay, I'm giving you negative emotions to show you that this is not what you're meant to be doing, because you're not happy. We're meant to be happy in this world, right? We're meant to be doing something that gives us joy, happiness, purpose, fulfillment, right? If you're not getting those feelings, that means that you need to change something in your life. You need to pivot. You need to make huge shifts. Otherwise, those negative emotions will lead to long-term illness, right? And it's very, very important. Stress. We know that stress is like one of the biggest causes of like all these different illnesses and diseases, right? So be grateful. I know it's difficult when you're going through this difficult time. You're just like, oh, it's the worst thing that could have happened to me. But actually be grateful for that, because it's time for you to reflect and be like, okay, so what actually is happening? What's the root cause of it all, right? When I went to doctors, they only wanted to give me tablets, medicine, antidepressants. And, I'm not saying that they bad or whatever, I decided not to take them, but don't take my advice on it. But I knew that this will just mask my symptoms, and it's not getting the root cause, it's not targeting the root cause of my sadness or stress. So really take, if you're feeling like that, really take the time out to reflect on your life and think, what can I do to actually stop this stress from happening? Because you have huge control over it. Your mindset is everything, and you really have control over your mindset. So really start seeing it as an opportunity to learn, to develop, and to really shift your life. And even during this pandemic, I've had so many people coming to me and be like, this is actually the best thing that's happened to me, because I'm stuck at home with my family. I've realized that I really want to spend more time with my family, and therefore I started my own business because I don't want to go back to a 9-to-5 job, because I realized that this is not what I want to do. So really people do take this time to slow down, because a lot of the time, we work on autopilot. We don't really think, we do things automatically. We go to work, home, dinner, children, whatever, and then we don't really have time to reflect. And now everything has slowed down for us to really reflect and really see, is this really what I want to do with my life? Would I be happy doing, if I'm, that's what I did to myself. I imagine myself being 70 or 80-year-old lady in my armchair, and I asked myself, did I really live the life that I wanted? Am I proud of my achievements? Am I proud being the HR officer or manager to, recruiting people and doing payroll? Is that really something I would be proud of? Not really, that's not the impact I wanted to create. I wanted to I wanted to transform and change people's lives, right? So really ask yourself those difficult questions and really use this time to your advantage and for you to change life if this is something that, if you're experiencing negative emotions. I just want you to take this away from my talk, that your negative emotions are the biggest indicator whether you're on the right or wrong path, right? So negative emotions will show you that you're on the wrong path. Go with your positive emotions, go with things that make you happy, and they'll slowly lead you to your path, to your purpose, okay? So once I realized what I wanted to do in life, once I connected to my purpose, 5 months later, after that, I escaped my 9-to-5 job, and 3 months after that, I started creating sold out launches, and I started being pretty much fully booked as a coach, which is such a quick thing to do, right? So now I just want to go and quickly talk to you. If that's something that interests you, I want you guys to know what you need to do to really turn that purpose into profitable business, okay? So the first thing, of course, you need to connect with your purpose, right? One way that I already explained is all about emotions, really going with your emotions, really become more self-aware, really start listening and being more in tune with your emotions. So go with the positive emotions, right? If you have negative emotions like stress, anxiety, depression, whatever it might be, just reflect and be like, okay, how can I fix this? How can I pivot my life to make sure that I start experiencing positive emotions, to make sure that I'm in alignment with my true self, with my purpose, okay? But once you know what you want to do, you then need to really niche down and be very, very clear about the impact you want to create with your business. You need to create a business that you're absolutely passionate about, and something that you really, truly, deeply care about. Otherwise, if you're doing just for the money, it will not work, because money is not the biggest motivator for people. For a lot of people, the biggest motivator is, helping others. So when you do something that you love, money will follow as a result. So it's very important to really figure out what is the impact that you want to create with your business, what sort of problems you want to help people with, what's the main thing that you want to help people with. And normally that can connect to your own story, right? So I based my business on my story. I hated being stuck in my 9-to-5 job. I hated not knowing what my purpose was. I hated the fact that I struggled with stress. And then, I became a qualified stress management trainer and coach and mentor, to help people connect with their purposes so they can build a business and move away from 9-to-5 job, right? I don't want people to feel stuck in the 9-to-5 job. I hate that idea. So I based my business around my story, right? There was a problem that I overcame. I learned how to do that. Now I teach other people how they can do the same. So So that could be another idea for how you can connect to your purpose. Really think about difficult times in your life and what you had to do to overcome, and whether that's really something you want to dedicate your life to help other people overcome the same problem. So really think about your niche, who you want to help, get understanding. Another thing, the next step is really understand your ideal clients. So what are your ideal clients? Who do you want to work with? What are the biggest pain, struggles, obstacles, problems? I normally tell my clients, you need to list down all the problems, obstacles, struggles, everything that's negative in their lives right now, things that they're struggling with. On one side, and on the other side, just write down what they want to achieve, what are the results that they want to achieve, what is the desired reality. And based on those two things, then you can create a product or program or your services to help people get from where they are, where they're not happy, to where they want to be, right? So in that way, you can really create a program that is high in demand, and you'll be targeting your ideal clients' problems, and you'll be getting them to where they want to be, because you know your clients inside out, right? And because you are your ideal client, or you were your ideal client because you've gone through that transformation already, you know exactly how they feel because you're one of them. Okay, so once you connect to your purpose, you then really need to get clear about your niche, who you want to help, and your ideal clients, so who you want to help, what you want to help people with, and then create a product or service that will really be in high demand for your ideal clients. After that's done, you need to work on your brand, right? So it's always about position yourself in the right way so people will see you as a go-to person for that problem. So I always tell people, you don't want to be serving everyone and no one. Everyone and anyone, because as a result you serve no one. So that's why it's important to be really, really niche down, so people will start seeing you as an expert in one particular field. And a lot of my clients say, but I'm not an expert, I'm only just starting this business. And that's absolutely fine, because you only need to be one step ahead of your ideal clients for them to see you as an expert, for them to be like, oh my god, this person has overcome my biggest problem, they are where I want to be, I need to listen to them because they know how to help me, right? So it's all about building your brand and position yourself in the right way, so you can really so people know that, okay, they start associating you with the problem that you're solving, okay? And as a result, they'll come to you, and you'll be able to help them more, okay? So once that's done, once you have and I call these are the foundations of your business. You have to have strong foundations. So once this is cleared, the next step is obviously you need to start monetizing your business. You need to start making money, because if you don't make any money, you'll have to go back to your 9-to-5 job, right? So this is really, really important factor. So the next thing you need to do, once you have the product, once you know who you want to be working with, and once you have established your brand, you then need to be building community or your audience of your ideal clients. So this was the biggest mistake I've done in my business right at the beginning, that I've had an amazing thing to sell, but I didn't know how to create community. That's something I needed to learn. I didn't know how to monetize my business, right? So this is definitely a skill that you need to learn. So it's all about building community, building your audience, so you have your ideal clients there. So when you want to talk to someone, you want to sell your program or product, you've got people that will be interested. So I specialize in monetizing your Facebook groups, because they're free and they are very, very easy to monetize. It's the quickest way for you to grow and monetize your business through Facebook groups, okay? So I would really advise you, if that's something you want to do, create a Facebook group around your business and attract people. So again, you need to learn how to attract your ideal clients into your group, and in that way you'll learn how to grow your group, how to build engagement, and then what I call, you need to create a ready to buy audience through your content, through your videos, through your teachings. So you need to be showing up regularly. I show up in my group every single day, whether that's through written content or videos, training sessions, challenges. I give them so much value for free, so they can get to know me, trust me, they see how I work, they already can get results by doing free stuff with me, and that will then help them make a decision that, okay, I actually want to work with her, I want to pay her for her services because I know she's good, right? So that's your purpose. You want to be really building really genuine relationships with people. So I'm really good at building strong relationships with people. And through over time you start warming people up, right? So it's very difficult to sell to a cold audience who have never really heard your name before, because they don't trust you, they don't know who you are, right? So it's important to really nurture your community. So that's what you need to be doing through Facebook group. And once you create content every single day to make sure your business to make sure that your audience is ready to buy, then it's important to learn the process of launching your program, launching your business, launching your product, right? So that's how I work. I launch my program whenever I feel like, oh, I've got a new program. For example, now I've got a new program coming up in July, where we'll be talking all about mindset. It's all about mindset, preparing people to leave 9 to 5 and being entrepreneurs. It's all about mindset. So that's something that I'll be doing. And now I'm preparing for my launch, right? So I'll be doing all the things necessary for me to be successful and create a sold out launch, so that I've got clients joining in July. So it's all about process of launching. So what steps you need to take to really launch that program so people actually buy into it. So my favorite way is doing either a masterclass or a 3-day challenge. So people can join that for free. They get they learn a lot, they get results from it. And then at the end of it, I'm selling the program. I say, okay, amazing. You've been with me for 3 days now. And if you want to get even better results, and if you really want to see the huge transformation on a personal level as well in your business, then we can work together. And this is the program that I'm offering. And that's how you can join, right? So these are the steps that you need to know to really turn your purpose, your passion into your profitable business. And I really hope this has been helpful. I'm having Alain told me when you guys doing this training, but I actually can't remember now. So I'm actually having a free masterclass on 22nd of June about mindset. So if you guys are interested, you can join my group, and you can watch a replay as well. There will be a replay available for a limited time. But you can join that, because I'll be sharing with you what the mindset shifts have to happen and how you need to train your mindset to be a successful entrepreneur. So if you are interested in entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur, this is an absolutely a start. Your mindset needs to be on point. So that's something you can join either live, or if you miss it, you can do a replay. So it will be great to have you on there. And you can always get in touch with me either by email. So I know Alela will be sharing my contact details with you, so either through email, or you can join my Facebook group, of course, where I'll give lots of value in free training. It's called Meant for More, passion-driven and successful entrepreneurs. So it will be lovely to see you there. And if you have any follow-up questions, if you have a burning question that I didn't really answer in this short video, let me know and let's have a chat. I'm more than happy to help you. And I hope you're all well, stay safe, and sending you lots of love. Bye!
We have reached the last part of our webinar. On behalf of RunVigor Stress Control Training Center and of Ewa Heard, I want to thank all of you for your participation. We hope that you have learned something that can seriously help all of us cope and succeed in work during this time of pandemic. As I said, this is a life skill, far more important than any other skill that we have. It is primarily a fundamental skill. Without it, it would be extremely hard to deal with all stressors. Well, we might be getting by, surviving, but we could be missing out a lot on our potential, our capacity. Without these stressors, I could have been more successful, something like that. Have you thought about that? We are happy to teach and impart these to you in this webinar. As mentioned, we offer certificates of completion. There are 2 options, digital copy and printed copy. Whichever you choose, we will give you 1 free stress management coaching session, pretty much like the one in our case focus presentation, the last part. You also get a free copy of the PowerPoint as PDF file for your future reference whenever you need to look back on our learnings today. Not only that, remember when I mentioned in the events page that this is a limited seating webinar up for registration? Here's the good news. All of you who registered can have that certificate without taking the evaluation quiz. For the rest of the participants who need a certificate, you have to complete and pass a short quiz first. Going back to our offer, here is the complete breakdown. Here are the details. So we have two options. First is a digital copy worth 899 pesos, and the printed copy is worth 1,499 pesos. That's a hard copy certificate to be delivered nationwide anywhere you are. Now, these both, either one you choose, this includes our free inclusions, one stress management training and coaching session, pretty much like the one that we tackled with Kath, but the first session is free. Copy of the lecture presentation notes for this webinar. So you'll have a copy of this entire PowerPoint presentation. Now, I mentioned about Eventbrite registrants. Again, no evaluation quiz needed. Now, what are included in this free stress management training and coaching session? First, we will have briefing of coaching and personal training to delineate coaching and training with therapy, mentoring, and any other misconceptions that any person might have about coaching and training. You also have Holmes and Ross scale, like what's mentioned with Kath. Also, Cooper's Life Stress Inventory. You will also have that based on your situation. You also have stress assessment questionnaires for you to be more self-aware and might discover something about yourself. Then daily relaxation log to help you move forward and to guide you. Also, passive progressive muscular relaxation. So those are the inclusions of the free stress management training and coaching session. Again, for digital copy, that's $899. For printed copy, that's $1,499. Either way you choose, you will have one stress management training and coaching session from me for free, plus the copy of the lecture presentation notes for this webinar. So how are you going to send those fees? You have three options. First is through Globe GCash. So that's, please take note of the number, that's 0917-817-0250. Another way is through a bank transfer to BDO. The account name there is Lel Auxilius. That's my maiden name. And that's the account number 010-7200-27233. And Land Bank is my married name, Alel Kayanan. The account number is 0707-193611. Now, please send proof of deposit or screenshot to RunVigor Stress Control Training Center Facebook page via Messenger so that we can process it. And please wait for confirmation and your copy of lecture notes to be sent to your email. After confirmation, you can now book your free coaching session with me on the link that you will receive. If you do not have any access to Facebook, you can email to admin@runvigor.com. You have reached the end of this presentation. As I said, the certificate of completion is what you pay for. The rest I give as freebies, add-ons, as a thank you for trusting us. Once again, we at RunVigor Stress Control Training Center thank you so much for staying with us. Have a safe and stress-free days ahead.